Shalom, welcome back to the Sequential Zohar series. Today we are in Bereshit A, chapter 15, a section called I, even I am He. And I want to start with the feeling of this chapter before we get into the ideas. This is one of those passages where the Zohar is not trying to give us more information. It is trying to break the habit of seeing everything as separate. Because most of the time, we live in pieces. We have work over here, family over here, prayer over here, problems over here, money over here, health over here. And then, somewhere far away, we imagine spirituality. But this section of the Zohar says, don't stop at the pieces. Behind every layer, behind every force, behind every name, behind every system, behind every level of wisdom, there is one source. Not one more item inside the system. Not one spiritual power among other spiritual powers. Not one voice competing with other voices. One source. Rabbi Shimon opens with the verse, "See now that I, even I am He." That repetition matters. I, even I. It sounds simple, but the Zohar hears something very deep in it. It is like the verse is stripping away confusion. It is saying, when you look at creation and see many causes, many movements, many channels, many laws, many names, many angels, many sephirot, do not mistake the channels for the source. The channels are real. The structure is real. The spiritual architecture is real. But the root is one. And that is the main meditation for today. This is the invitation today. Can I look at the complexity of my life without losing the simplicity of the one behind it? The Zohar then brings us into a subtle teaching. It speaks about causes. One cause leads to another cause. One level receives from a higher level. One grade depends on the grade above it. Nothing moves alone. Even in the spiritual worlds, a lower level does not act until it receives permission from the level above it. That is a powerful image. Creation is not chaos. It is not random. It is not every force doing whatever it wants. It is order. It is relationship. It is flow. The Zohar connects this to the phrase from Genesis, "Let us make man." That phrase has always raised questions. Who is us? Why does the verse speak in the plural. In this passage, the Zohar reads us as a conversation between spiritual levels. A lower grade turns toward the grade above it. A level says, in effect, let us participate together. Let us bring this form into being. Let us allow the human being to emerge through the order of the worlds. But then Rabbi Shimon makes a distinction. There are causes within creation. And then there is the cause above all causes. The causes within creation can relate to one another. They can receive. They can pass on influence. They can consult, so to speak. They can be arranged in hierarchy. But the ultimate source does not take counsel from anything. There is nothing above it. There is nothing beside it. There is nothing equal to it. This is why the verse says, there is no Elohim with me. Not because the Zohar denies the existence of spiritual levels. It has been describing those levels the whole time. The point is that none of those levels are independent. They are not separate gods. They are not competing authorities. They are not separate origins. They are expressions, garments, vessels, channels. And this is where the teaching becomes practical. Because we also confuse channels with source. A job can be a channel. A relationship can be a channel. A teacher can be a channel. A community can be a channel. A moment of inspiration can be a channel. Even pain can become a channel. But none of them are the source. When we forget that, we become trapped. We cling too hard to a person, a result, a fear, a title, a success, or a failure. We think this is where my life comes from. And the Zohar gently pulls us back. No, life flows through many things, but it comes from the One. The students hear Rabbi Shimon and they ask a question. They are not passive listeners. They are awake. They are tracking the teaching. They ask, didn't you say earlier that the cause of causes spoke to Keter in the phrase, let us make men? And Rabbi Shimon corrects them. He says, listen carefully to what your own mouth is saying. In other words, precision matters. In mystical language, a small difference can change the whole meaning. There is a level called cause of causes, and there is the cause above all causes. One is still spoken about within the structure. The other is beyond comparison, beyond partnership, beyond number. This is not just philosophy. It is training the mind to know where it can think and where it must become quiet. Some things can be mapped. Some things can be named. Some things can be compared. But the source of all sources cannot be reduced to a map. Zohar says there is a kind of one that is made of combination, like masculine and feminine together, two aspects united. That is a holy oneness, but it is still a oneness made from relationship. Then there is a oneness without number. Not one as in one item, not one as in first in a list, not one as in one instead of two, one beyond counting. That is hard to hold in the mind, and maybe it should be. The point is not to master it. The point is to be humbled by it. Then Rabbi Shimon continues with the next part of the verse. I kill and I make alive. The Zohar reads this through the Sephirot. From the right side comes life. From the left side comes judgment. And the central pillar mediates between them, right, left, and center. Expansion, restriction, and balance. Mercy, judgment, and harmony. Giving, boundary, and integration. The Zohar says judgment is not carried out unless these sides come together. That means even judgment in its true form is not wild anger. It is not a random punishment. True judgment is part of order. And when judgment is balanced by the central pillar, it becomes connected to mercy. That is why the next image is so beautiful. The Zohar speaks about an outstretched hand that receives those who return. This is the hand of repentance. When a person turns back, when a person wakes up, when a person says, I do not want to keep living from separation, a hand is extended. The teaching here is not sentimental. The Zohar is not saying consequences disappear. It is saying there is a real spiritual opening called return. And return is not only regret. Return means coming back to the source. Return means remembering unity. Return means letting the scattered parts of the self face the one again. Sometimes we think repentance means I am bad and now I must feel bad enough to be accepted. But the deeper meaning is different. Repentance is realignment. It is the soul turning back toward its root. And the Zohar's image is not a locked door. It is a hand. A hand reaches. A hand receives. A hand steadies. A hand lifts. So if you are listening to this and you feel far away from your own center, the chapter is not only talking about cosmic structure, it is talking to you. There is a hand extended toward return. Now, the passage also goes into the letters of the divine name. The number 14, the word hand, and the repeated letters in the verse. For a modern listener, this can feel technical. Aleph, Yud, Vav, the forms of the name, numerical values, hidden combinations. But we can approach it gently. In the Zohar, letters are not just symbols on a page. Letters are spiritual forces. A word is not only a label, it is a structure of energy. So when the Zohar looks closely at the repeated I and the repeated connecting letter N, it is not playing word games. It is saying that the verse is built like a spiritual body. Every letter is a limb. Every repetition is a pulse. Every name is a pathway. The verse itself becomes a meditation. I. Not ego saying me, but the divine I revealing itself through layers. The ordinary ego says, I am separate. The divine I says, I am the root of all. And maybe part of spiritual work is allowing our smaller I to become transparent to that greater I. Not erased in a cruel way, not made worthless, but softened, open, and return. Then the Zohar gives another important point. It says that different explanations of the verse are true. That is a gift, because sometimes we want one final explanation. We want the meaning, the one correct answer, the single key that closes the conversation. But the Zohar often works differently. A verse can speak on many levels at once. It can refer to the Holy One and the Shekinah. It can refer to the struggle against separation. It can refer to judgment and life. It can refer to the cause beyond all causes. All of these can be true because the Torah is not flat. The Torah is layered. And if Torah is layered, then life is layered too. A single experience can have more than one meaning. A loss can be grief, but can also be initiation. A delay can be frustration and also protection. A relationship can be love and also mirror. A challenge can be pain and also purification. Not everything should be explained too quickly, but we can stay open to depth. Finally, the chapter closes with the image of concealed causes and lights. The Sephirot are described like chariots, making hidden forces visible. A chariot reveals that there is a rider, even if the rider is not the chariot itself. That is a beautiful way to understand the world. The visible world is not the deepest reality, but it can point toward it. The body can point toward soul. The moment can point toward eternity. The relationship can point toward love. The Sephirot can point toward what is beyond the Sephirot. The lights become brighter as they ascend, but even the brightest lights are dim because the cause of causes. Because we may spend years seeking light, and that is good. We should seek wisdom. We should seek healing. We should seek understanding. We should seek holiness. But the Zohar reminds us, even light is not the final point. The source is beyond the light we can grasp. So, what do we do with this chapter? There are 3 practices. First, when life feels scattered, remember the One. Do not deny the details. Do not pretend problems are not real, but look through them. Ask, where is the one source behind all these moving pieces? Second, respect the channels, but do not worship them. Be grateful for teachers, opportunities, money, healing, community, and wisdom. But do not confuse any channel with the source. Third, return. When you feel misaligned, do not waste all your energy in shame. Turn, breathe, reconnect. Let the outstretched hand meet you. It says, beneath all causes, there is one. Above all lights, there is one. Behind judgment and mercy, there is one. Behind every name, level, and world, there is one. And the more we remember that, the less fragmented our life becomes. We can move through complexity without being swallowed by it. We can honor the many without losing the one. And maybe that is why the verse says, I, even I am He. It is not only a statement about heaven. It is a call to perception. See now, not later. Not after you understand everything. Not after every mystery is solved. See now, right here, inside the life you already have. The one is speaking through the many. Shalom.